Welcome, Brad.
Hello, how are you?
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. I'm going to just read my little intro spiel, and we'll be off to the races.
Okay. And this is live, right?
Right. We are live. We're
Wow, all
on
right.
LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, and we are on Facebook. Facebook Live. So,
Cool.
welcome, Brad. Welcome to Making Waves. This is where we interview spectacular individuals doing amazing things in a difficult world. I'm your host, Drew Leifheit. On today's Making Waves, Mending Moods Across the Globe, meet Brad Yates, who's going to tell us all about the emotional freedom technique, which is also known as tapping. It's an alternative acupressure therapy treatment used to restore balance to disrupted energy, meaning you can use it to reduce stress and anxiety, ease depression, decrease pain, and reduce cravings, for example. We'll discuss how Brad got into tapping, the reception he gets from his hundreds of free videos, and how he's helping improve people's moods in places around the world. And stay tuned for the end of the show because we're going to have a live tapping session at the end of the interview. And I welcome people's suggestions if there's a specific topic that someone out there like you might like to have Brad tap about. And, we can release some of that energy, perhaps quell what ails you. First of all, Brad, hello and welcome. But I just wanted to take a moment to say hello to everybody out there, and just I had every intention of doing this show very seriously, and I've had a several months hiatus due to my father's health crisis, and fortunately, he's very safe. And of course, I got used to all kinds of putting out all kinds of fires here at home in Rockford, Illinois. Miss my wife and my dogs back in Shukuro, Hungary, as a long-term expatriate. And so I just wanted to give everybody a shout out and thanks for your patience. I'm back. I'm planning on scheduling more wonderful interviews with people like Brad. And hello, Brad, you're here now, officially. Hi.
Yeah. Glad to be here, Drew, and glad to hear that your dad's doing better.
Thanks. How's your morning?
It's going well so far.
Excellent. Brad, could you perhaps, obviously I've read an intro about you, but could you tell us a little bit about, yourself as opposed to what you do? What are your vitals?
I'm about 5 feet 10 inches tall. I just a regular guy who just happens to tap on
Brad,
stage for a living.
Could you perhaps sorry, had a little echo there. You're just a regular guy. Where were you born, Brad?
I was born in Anaheim, California. So I used to have nightmares that I was born underwater on the submarine ride at Disneyland.
Nice.
And I ended up working at Disneyland years later. So go figure.
And of course, this is just a side note. But how many times have you been to Disneyland?
A fair few.
Yeah. What? Give me a guesstimate.
Oh God, I couldn't even guess. I was there. I was there last year. I was there 2 times the year before, and then not for a while before that. But then, having worked there, I was there for many days for some time.
Interesting. How would you say that experience sort of colored how you see life?
In certain ways, I've actually worked at 2 amusement parks because that was when I was in high school. I was a Davy Crockett Explorer Canoe Scout, paddling a canoe. And then years later, when I was an actor, I was a tour guide at Universal Studios.
Cool. Did you enjoy that?
At times, there were times. It's changed a lot since I worked there. So.
Right. Sir, tapping, or the emotional freedom technique, of course, is new to many of the people that are joining us today. And it looks like we've got a pretty good turnout as far as I can tell. And I apologize if I'm glancing at my phone to see this feed or that feed. Could you, in a nutshell, or if you were to tell somebody on an airplane flight, if you had to explain what this is, what would you tell them?
So I would tell them, at the very basic, it's a simple form of stress relief based on acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's a flow of energy through the body along these pathways called meridians. And when we're experiencing our natural state of health and well-being, uh, that energy is flowing naturally. And when that energy gets stuck, we don't feel so good. And we don't think as clearly. We don't make good choices. All kinds of negative consequences can happen physically and emotionally. So in traditional Chinese medicine, the doctor would stick needles in these key points around the body to stimulate that healthy flow of energy. And we're just using our fingertips to tap there. And we have a growing body of scientific evidence showing that this dramatically reduces stress. It reduces cortisol, one of the stress hormones. There are all kinds of psychological and physiological markers that happen when we're doing the tapping. So it's just a really simple tool for allowing ourselves to relax and make better choices and improve our lives in all kinds of different ways.
Mm-hmm. Preceding my question, I'd just like to say, thank you, because I don't remember how I happened upon your videos and decided to try one. But as a freelancer working from home, you have saved me from, anything from writer's block to deep anxiety to marital stress, the whole gamut of emotions, or, little things that maybe, what I find it oftentimes is that after I do tapping, it kind of, for me, it puts things in perspective, right? So
Yeah.
it's anyway. So I'm wondering, having said all that, how did you land upon this discovery? What kind of process was this for you? How did you get where you are? How did it start?
How does a grown man find himself tapping on his face for a living?
Right.
So I actually started out as an actor. I was traveling the world doing theater, finally went to Hollywood to be a movie star, as one does. And while I was there, I met a woman, fell in love, got married. And when our first child was on the way, I thought, I might need a backup career. So I had always been fascinated by the power of the mind and saw an advertisement for a hypnotherapy school. And I thought, well, that would be an interesting side gig. So went through the train, I opened a small hypnotherapy practice and started doing that alongside my acting career. And a couple of years later, when our second child was on the way, I realized that as much as I loved acting, doing personal development work was really my calling. It's like, this is what I really feel fulfilled by in a whole different way. Mm-hmm. So we left Los Angeles, moved to Northern California to be closer to our families. And through some other hypnotherapists, I heard about this conference going on, this energy psychology conference, where they're doing this tapping thing. And I thought, sure, I'll check this out. And I was just fascinated by this technique, EFT, emotional freedom techniques, and how it just created these simple shifts. So after the conference, little by little, I started introducing tapping into my hypnotherapy sessions. And then little by little, they became tapping sessions with a little bit of hypnosis at the end.
Wow.
And then YouTube came along, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if there was this tapping video that people could start their day with? And I'll call it Tap of the Morning. And that's all I intended to do, is just that one video. I didn't even know how to upload a video to YouTube. I had a friend do it for me, and then I was done. And then 6 months later, I thought, I should have a video for people to end their day, and I'll call it Tap of the Evening. And then I'm done. And then I had another idea, and now I have about 1,200 videos, I think, on YouTube, as you mentioned, on all kinds of different subjects.
Right. So what year was it when you discovered tapping?
That was 2000.
2000. Wow.
Yeah. 23 years ago.
Excellent. Brad, you really kind of embody the reason that I started this show, Making Waves, because I really think that what you do, by throwing that pebble into, this sort of global body of water, you don't know, right? You don't know who's going to watch that video, right? So it's like you're putting this wonderful impulse out, whether people believe or not, right? But it gives them potentially a chance to, approach how they're feeling, and maybe offer them some comfort.
Yeah. Trying to help them feel better, do better, and live better. And yeah, it really is that ripple effect. I've often said to groups that I've been talking to, I'll say, I'm not here for you. I'm here for the people that you're going to reach at a different level because of what you're letting go of today.
Wow.
So I think we are all gifts. So I often talk about what I call the Michelangelo process. I love the David, and I have pictures everywhere in my office. So Michelangelo said that the statues were already there, perfect inside the marble, and all he had to do was chip away what didn't belong to reveal the masterpiece inside.
Mm.
And to me, that's what we're doing with tapping. We're chipping away the fear and the anxiety and the guilt and the shame and the self-doubt that stops us from sharing the gift that we are. And so sometimes I like to come up with different job titles for myself. And so one of them is gift unwrapper.
Nice. What could you talk about, maybe the first reaction, or perhaps maybe some reaction to your videos which really surprised you, or perhaps inspired you to continue on?
Yeah, right from the get-go, there were some positive comments, and not always positive. You put yourself on the internet tapping on your face, you're going to get some pushback from some people, especially on the internet, where people feel totally comfortable sharing things they might not say in person. But not as much as you might think, and over time, less and less. So for the most part, the feedback is really positive. People will often say, I don't know what this is. It looks strange, but I feel so much better. And, so if people are willing to at least give it a shot, they generally find at least to feel at least a little bit more relaxed, feeling a little bit better. And sometimes the shifts that happen are very quick and very profound. And people are like, oh my God, I can't believe how different I feel and how good I feel.
Mm, mm. So I've actually noticed the overwhelming amount of positive comments. I don't know if I mostly see sort of the newer videos. And so when would you say you reached critical mass, and you thought, wow, this is doing it for me. This is really a cool thing.
I'll let you know when I get there, Drew. I have a couple 100,000 subscribers at this point, but I look at YouTube channels that have millions of subscribers. Like, okay, still have a ways to go. It's very interesting to see how there are some people who are all over this. It's like, oh, absolutely, and there are big name celebrities and personal development speakers who say, oh yeah, tapping is a huge thing for me. Still at a place where 90% of the people that I meet have no idea what it is.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So we're still working on that. That's one of the main things with putting the videos out there, is trying to make it as easy and accessible as possible for people to benefit from this very simple tool.
Uh-huh. It's an amazing thing. I just like to take a second to say this is a reminder that you're watching Making Waves. My name is Drew Lifeit, and we're talking today to tapping guru, if I can call you a guru, Brad Yates. Please feel free to send in your questions in the chat, or suggest a topic we could tap about. We'll have a live tapping session at the end of this interview. Yeah, Brad, so we've talked a little bit about it, but could you talk a little bit about how people react? And maybe you could, talk about, say, how the skeptics react to tapping. What kind of feedback do you get?
Yeah, there will definitely be people who will say, well, where's the research? And I'll say, right here, here's the link. Go ahead. There's a huge amount of research. And in fact, the friends of mine who do a lot of the scientific research on tapping have met the qualifications for it to be accepted as an evidence-based practice. There are studies done with chemical studies of cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone, and how it's dramatically reduced. In fact, one of the first studies that was done with that, the lab researchers took the studies, put it through, and showed that the people who had done the tapping, because it was a double-blind test, some people using the tapping, some people using other techniques. The group that did the tapping, their cortisol levels dropped by an average of 24%. The lab technicians thought that can't be right, thought it must have been a mistake, and recalibrated their machines and ran it through again and found out, oh, that is the case. That test has been replicated a couple of times with cortisol levels dropping as much as 43%. So
Wow.
just a dramatic level in stress reduction. My friend, Dr. Peter Stapleton, she's a psychology professor at a university in Australia, has done fMRI studies where they take people, put them in the fMRI machine, do brain scans. I think the first one she did was on food cravings. So she would show them pictures of foods that they craved, and the fMRI showed where the brain activity was, what parts of their brain lit up, and then did some tapping, put them through again, and those parts of the brains were normalized.
Mm.
So for most of us, when we do the tapping, we feel better and we can say, oh yeah, I can definitely feel there's a difference. But for those skeptics, I can say, okay, this is not just self-accounting. There are scientific ways of measuring the difference that happens when we do this.
Right, right. And of course, for you other watchers out there, you'll see, if you haven't watched a couple of the videos that I've shared of Brad's, you'll see how he does it and what it involves. Is no, it's not a game of Twister. It's nothing that's gonna, it's nothing acrobatic.
Yeah.
So Brad, and could you describe a little bit about how it makes you feel when tapping has been an effective tool for someone?
Oh, it's huge. It's very, very gratifying to see the difference, whether it's when I'm working with someone one-on-one in a private session or doing group live sessions. It's one of my favorite things to do. As a recovering actor, I love having a live audience. So just got back from doing a workshop in Washington, D.C., and it's always so great to do that. They've got a few more coming up this year in Portland and Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And then just on YouTube, seeing the comments from folks saying, wow, this makes such a huge difference. I was so distraught by this, and now I feel calm. I was having trouble with this, and now it's fun, and all kinds of shifts. So it's very, very grateful for the opportunity to do this work. As Jim Rohn, or I can't remember who the great business philosopher was, who said that it's being used for something greater than myself. That's that's what success is, to be used by a purpose that's greater than yourself, and it's very gratifying.
Brad, if you could give me just a moment, I just want to give a shout out to some people out there. An old radio buddy, Andres Svetnik, believe from London. He's very interested in this and is thinking about using it as a tool against his insomnia.
Excellent.
I have a coach friend, Susan Balint. She's a very kind and also a helpful person, similar to, I would say, to you, Brad. Patrick Kagan is a coach of sorts who's interested in this technique. My cousin, Buck Bachman, his significant other, Seamus, is out there. Kristen Rittenhouse has very recently become an anti-clutter coach. She's doing God's work out there. And actually, someone in education, an old friend from Beloit College, Maria, says, Drew, I am interested in knowing about using tapping with teens in a school setting. Can it work in a small group, or is it better one-on-one? Would you like to address that question, Brad?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, getting in schools is a huge thing that those of us in the industry are working on. Again, my friend Peta has a program called Tapping in the Classroom,
Mm.
teaching teachers how to use tapping in their classrooms. The country of Slovenia actually paid for their teachers to go through this training. It's just
So,
amazing.
secret, it is a really cool country, by the way.
Yeah. If only we could get that in the US. I actually did a presentation just a few days ago for Georgia Tech for older teenagers and young adults. I did some videos with my daughter when she was 9 years old, and then 10 years later, one summer when she came home from college, she said, "We need to do some more videos," and we did some for teens and young adults.
Mhm.
So it works great in groups.
Right.
It's a very powerful way of doing it.
Mm. Excellent. Excellent. Well, it's good to hear that that the gospel's being spread.
Yeah. So yeah, great. That would be great, Marlon. Is put that out there, and you can find on my YouTube channel, type in kids or teens, and you'll
Mm.
find some of the. I have videos on taking tests and doing better in school, all kinds of things like that.
Right. Cool. Cool. And Brad, I know you've done a lot of tapping, but maybe could you talk a little bit about maybe the best tapping session you've ever done and why?
Wow, Drew, that's a tough one.
Sorry.
uh, Sometimes the answer is whatever the last one was that I did.
Mm.
It's it's hard to say because I've tapped with so many folks on so many different issues.
Mhm.
I've done a lot of tapping on money issues. That's one of my favorite things to tap
Mm.
on.
Mhm.
One, because most people want more money and
Mhm.
don't even realize how they're the ones blocking themselves from having money.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's a great example of how this works in terms of creating a better life, because change stresses us out.
Mhm.
So we resist change at levels that we're not even aware of.
Mhm.
So because there's something about it that seems scary. So for instance, with money, many of us will say, I want to have more money, but we have all kinds of programming like rich people are greedy, money is the root of all evil, and all this stuff. So when we have an opportunity where we could make more money, part of our brain is going, oh, no, we don't want to be a greedy person.
Mhm.
We don't want to be evil.
The
And
root of
so
all
we,
evil.
pardon me?
The root of all evil,
Yeah.
right?
The root of all evil,
Yeah.
which is not actually what the quote is. The actual translation is the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil.
Mm.
And it's about greed and what greed will do. It's not so it's a misunderstanding that's been passed down.
Mm.
And so what happens is we have this stress response then when we have this opportunity to make more money. So bring in a simple tool for stress relief as we talk about that, and we start to calm down and go, oh, you know what? It wouldn't be evil. I could actually make money in ways that help people, and I could do a lot of good with that money. It's a win-win situation, no evil required.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we clear that up, and then we have a greater opportunity. So why I love tapping about money is because, as I said, I like to think of myself as a gift unwrapper. And when people have a resistance to making money, then they have a resistance to sharing their gifts.
Mhm.
So I like tapping on money simply for the fact of whether or not they make more money or not, it allows them to share their gifts in a bigger way and do more good in the world.
Right, right. Yeah, and my friend Kristen Rittenhouse chimed in on that. She said, "Oh, interesting. So this can help change subconscious belief systems."
Absolutely. That's what we're up to. That's what
Mhm.
we're up to because we have
Mhm.
those subconscious beliefs about, we talk about what we want. And maybe we have a vision board. And so consciously, 5 to 10% of our mind is saying yes. The other 90 to 95% has all these reasons why, yeah, but we can't let that happen. All these unconscious beliefs that we've picked up over the years from misunderstandings, like the idea that money is the root of all evil, or relationships aren't safe for me. I'm not good enough. That's probably the biggest one, is the belief that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy. And it's based on a misunderstanding, either ours or someone else's. And then, because we love to be right, we keep finding ways to prove that to ourselves. We fabricate that, and then we insist on that. And then the idea of thinking differently seems like too big of a change, and it's too stressful. So as we calm ourselves down and allow ourselves to recognize, wait, that's all BS. I actually am awesome, and I'm worthy and deserving of great things. And as we allow ourselves to know that inside, our behavior automatically changes.
Brad, what about that? Like a one-off tapping session versus the cumulative effect of, say, I don't know, working with you? Is it, would I say, oh, my family has the money gene turned off. Brad, please help me. Would that involve kind of the cumulative effect of lots of different tapping sessions, or how does that work?
It depends for different folks, because sometimes what's stopping someone is one simple idea. So, for instance, when Dr. Roger Callahan, who first came up with this tapping with a process called thought field therapy, he was doing traditional psychotherapy with a woman who had a lifelong water phobia. And he was learning about acupressure at the same time, and said, well, what's the physical symptom that you have? And she said, well, I get this knot in my stomach. And he had learned that, okay, this point for the stomach meridian is right under the eye. So let's just tap there for a moment and see what we can do about your stomach. And after tapping for just a few moments under her eye, not only did this knot in her stomach go away, but her fear of water went away. Lifelong water phobia gone. So it's what we call a 1-minute wonder. Now, that's not the norm. It doesn't usually happen that fast, but it often happens that we see things like that happen a lot. But most of the things that bother us, there are more aspects to it. So we may have to tap on different things. So people will often ask me, how long will I have to tap? It's like, I don't know. It may be just a few moments. It may be a matter of years, but you're still getting closer to the result. If I said, okay, in order to have your money blocks cleared such that you could make tons more money than you otherwise would, if it was going to take 5 years of tapping on different beliefs, and at the end of 5 years, you had a total opening to money, would it be worth it? Where you go, it's not worth 5 years of my life, because those 5 years are going to pass anyway. So I, when people say, how long will I have to tap? I say, until.
Right.
Because even if you don't get the immediate result that you're looking for, there are so many benefits to the tapping, so many ways that it improves our physiological well-being, our psychological well-being. So it's worth it, even if you don't see the immediate results on the particular issue that you're trying to tap on.
Amazing. Yeah, it almost seems like everybody has a date of ripening, like when you get there.
Well, we have, one of the analogies I like to imagine is, if you have two people running down a track, but they both have a trunk tied to them by a rope behind them, and one person runs really fast down the track and the other person is running much slower, and the person in the front might say, oh, you just have no willpower. It's like, let's open these trunks. And the faster runner has nothing in the trunk, and the slower runner has all of these rocks in there. We just looking at someone, we don't know how many rocks are in their trunk.
Right.
And for ourselves, we don't know. Most of us have no idea. We sit there and go, why am I not succeeding more? Why am I not happier? Why aren't my relationships better? And there's this trunk over there, and we're like, I'm sure that's empty. And I just can't understand why things don't go right. It's like, well, let's go in and have the courage to open that trunk and then start taking those rocks out. And we might take a lot of rocks out all at once. It may be one by one, but it's allowing ourselves to go in there. And back to your point about the skeptics, I find sometimes the people who ridicule this the most are the folks who are most afraid of going in there
Mhm.
and finding out how many rocks that are in there. It's
Mhm.
like I come along and say, you can do this simple process and start making changes, and their comfort zone, their identity starts going, you shut up. And they
Mhm.
start looking for ways to say that it's ridiculous and it can't work and it's woo woo or whatever it is, any way that they can dismiss it, because then they get to stay right. They get to, I'm right, I'm stuck here in my life and this is the way it is and there's nothing that can be changed about it. And so I have total compassion for folks who do that. It's like, I get it.
Mhm.
There are places, so many things that I've been stuck on and resisted, and so I just put it out there. It's like, if they see it this time and ridicule it, the next time they see it, they might say, well, I might give it a shot. And I've had so many comments from so many people who have said, I thought this was the stupidest thing I ever saw when I first saw it,
Mhm.
and now I tap every day and the
Mhm.
changes are remarkable.
Mhm. I've got my mother tapping since I came home. I took a little break from all of the fun stuff of arranging my father's affairs, and saw my family. Came back, and my mom's in a very anxious state. So of course, she always had all kinds of self-help books around when I was a child. I'll tell you a goofy thing in particular. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the book "I'm Okay, You're Okay,"
Yeah.
and on the cover, the letters were really smashed together. And I said, "Mom, what is Imok Urok?" I was mortified. I thought my mom was in a cult or something.
Speaking in tongues.
Anyway, moving on to other topics. Another dear friend who's also got one foot in Europe and one foot in Georgia, Phil Lewis, had a quick question for you. I'm putting it on the screen. He says, I noticed some autism patients automatically do this maneuver. Is there a link?
Yeah. Uh, I'm blanking on the term now. It just came up recently that this flapping or something like that. I forget what the term is that's used for autism. Yes, there is a self-comforting thing that a lot of folks with autism use, and so there are, and people will sometimes use that when they're commenting uh, on it. It's like, oh yeah, that's what autistic people do,
Mm.
and so I don't know that some of those behavior. I mean, it's a self-calming behavior that they're using.
Mhm.
Whether or not some of them may actually be accidentally or intuitively tapping on
Mhm.
meridian points.
Mhm. Mhm. Interesting. Thanks, Phil. Um, Now, where am I going? Haha. You know what I wanted to ask you, Brad, was what role do you think empathy plays in what you do? Um, and is there any specific experience in your life that contributed to your empathy?
It Yeah, there's sort of an intuitive empathy thing that goes on in terms of getting in touch with what folks are going through
Mhm.
and trying to figure out what might be going on for them, why why they might be thinking what they're thinking and doing what they're doing. And so yeah, having empathy and compassion and just trying to be in their shoes. It's really to be able to look at ourselves and other people and not beat ourselves up and not judge ourselves. There's that great quote from Walt Whitman: be curious rather than judgmental. And so being able to look at that, and when we're seeing someone thinking and doing and saying things that we don't like, asking what's going on for that person. And then I can't stop everyone from doing things that I don't like, but maybe I can help them clear what's behind that. And in terms of doing that and being of service, I really credit my wife with this, because my wife's a world saver. When I met her, she was running homeless shelters in Los Angeles, and so I really learned about being of service and trying to make waves from her.
Mhm.
So it's her fault that I tap on my face for a living.
Wonderful, wonderful. Are you ever angry about that?
No, I am so freaking grateful.
Good, excellent.
I am so blessed to get to do what I do. I
Mm.
love what I do so much.
Mhm.
Knowing that I'm making waves, knowing that I'm making a difference,
Mhm.
is so fulfilling.
Mhm.
I'm hugely grateful.
Mhm. 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 Brad, could you tell us a bit about, how you go beyond the videos, and obviously, that's very attractive. You have a very selfless approach, and I'm sure that this draws people in, and they say, "Oh, Brad, could you help me out more?" What kind of personalized, or one-to-one kind of attention do you give people, and how does that work?
Yeah, I do more interactive tapping in a number of ways. I have programs online. I have I do group sessions. I have online group sessions. I do live workshops, and then I also do private sessions as well.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, and I see a couple of other questions in terms of whether you can tap for someone else. Yes, I have a video called surrogate tapping,
Hmm.
where you tap on yourself for the other person, or maybe sometimes you might be able to do the tapping on that person. But there have been a lot of reports of how beneficial surrogate tapping can be. And in terms of OCD and other disorders, I have a video on OCD. Yeah, there are all kinds of ways that the tapping can help calm down the nervous system in terms of what goes on with those different things, and again, looking at the behaviors like hoarding and what's going on underneath that, and helping
Hmm.
to you know change change someone's mind about the fears. It's like looking at what is the fear, because ultimately that's what it comes down to with most of our unfortunate behaviors, is
Hmm.
there's some kind of fear. And as we calm that down, we have greater freedom to behave in different ways, and feel better, and clear that anxiety that upsets so many of us so often.
Hmm. Just another reminder, I'm Drew Lifeit. I'm talking to Brad Yates. We're talking about the emotional freedom technique, known as tapping, or I guess they're a synonym, right? Um, Thanks everyone for joining in the conversation. So many comments. That's wonderful. If you'd still like to ask a question, or if you'd like to suggest a topic for the live tapping session that we're going to get to pretty soon at the end of this interview, please suggest. We could join in and help some bad feelings dissipate, or help take you to the promised land in your day. Brad, this is kind of a weird question, but of course I think about this a lot, as someone born in America who lives overseas, and um, I've been trying to work on myself, and I try all kinds of things. I'm kind of a news junkie, but I've stopped listening to the news first thing in the morning, because I find that it drags me down. I do all sorts of things. I do a lot of exercise. I do tapping. I meditate. Blah blah blah. And I see that a lot of people around me, whether it be in America or in Hungary or Europe, they're not necessarily inhabiting the space. And I'm not being judgmental, but I'm just wondering, you do some travel, and you do some tapping internationally, and I'm just wondering, what's your feel for what's happening in the world right now?
Well, it is challenging that there is a lot of there are a lot of challenges, and in the information age where it's so easy for anybody to post anything, people can spew a lot of negativity and a lot of misinformation, and we're bombarded by that. You know, this is why I recommend tapping on a daily basis, because it's energy hygiene. You know, we have physical hygiene like brushing our teeth and taking showers, and most of us do that on a fairly regular basis, maybe daily. We don't wait until it's needed. We just
Mhm.
try to maintain our cleanliness. We don't wait until we see green stuff between our teeth and go, oh, now I should brush my teeth. Or, oh, people are holding their nose around me. Maybe I should take a shower. But stress, most of us don't have any kind of way of clearing that. And we're walking around with ambient levels of stress, even if we're not really anxious.
Mhm.
We have ambient levels of stress primarily because nowadays, because we're all walking around with this thing that's constantly telling us, here's something else to be upset about. How are you doing today? Well, I'm about to make your day a lot worse. Did you know that this was happening?
Mhm.
And just all of this stuff bombards us, and we don't recognize how it affects us. I mean, it's like we're constantly, it's like we're walking around in acid rain, and it's eating away at us. And so then we take that and we might put it out there and keep and just feed that back out there, and it gets worse and worse. So, that's why I have the videos out there for free on YouTube, is
Mhm.
hoping people will find a way to relax and choose the positive and then put the positive out there.
Mhm. Right.
And it's a challenge, but we can use these same resources that are being used by so many people to put negativity out there. We can use them to put positive, just as you're doing with making waves. We can use these powers for good rather than evil.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Excellent. Excellent. What about for yourself? Yeah, what other kinds of things do you do? And, what are sources of inspiration and or maintenance for you?
I just starting to pick up the saxophone again. I have a saxophone up here.
Mm.
Every so often,
Mhm.
I allow myself to, dabble with music. Yeah, we enjoy traveling. I love integrating workshops into the travel. So whenever I'm going someplace, I try to do a workshop where I can go out and meet. Because that's the great thing about doing things on YouTube, is I have been able to reach people around the world. So I get to go to beautiful places and have people that know who I am, and will enjoy this work.
Mm.
You know, go out kayaking sometimes, or paddleboarding.
Mhm. Mm. Is it okay for me to be jealous of you?
Tap on that, Drew.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
Because
I'm
here's the thing.
go
Someone
ahead.
I we because we just did this. I literally just 2 days ago was doing a tapping session with somebody on jealousy, because she
Uh,
had a friend who she said, I have a friend, and her birthday's coming up, and her husband said, what would you like? And she said, I want a house on Lake Como. So
mm,
he took her down there, and they bought a house on Lake Como. And she was so jealous. And I said, and I said, let's tap on this. And in fact, everyone watching, just go ahead and be tapping right here where
right,
your
right.
collarbones about to come together.
Right. We haven't really gotten into the physicality of things, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll
give them a
show
little instruction, perhaps.
show you
Yeah.
in a moment. But just I said, because it's out there for you as well. It's
Mhm.
like window shopping.
Mm.
We can sit there and look in the window at things in the window and get so upset. It's like, oh, I can't believe that that's out there and I can't have that. Or we can say, oh, I can't believe that's out there. I could have that.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're getting to see things that will inspire other people, and allowing ourselves to have that. And so it's like clearing that idea that I can't have that. And I said, plus, this is an awesome manifestation you've just created, because I know that she'll invite you to visit her house on Lake Como. So you've just manifested a house on Lake Como without all the logistics. You
Mm.
don't have to worry about the upkeep of this house, but you're going to
Right.
get to experience it and enjoy.
Yeah, without all the expense, I suppose, too.
And the expenses, it's like, okay, so people are paying things all the time. I just need to allow myself to let that flow
Mhm.
so that I can cover the expenses. The universe can afford whatever you want and whatever you're willing to have.
Right. Right. Excellent. I've got a comment from Seamus, but I think we should avoid politics unless we're going to speak about it in general. Um, but maybe my old friend Kristen Rittenhouse, she says she loves the idea of energy hygiene. You think maybe you could riff off of that, Brad, with a little tapping?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
So let me give you just real quick. I'm going to show you the basics of tapping before we'll go into a full tapping round. But I just want to give you the very basics. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your fingertips of your index and middle finger and gently tap on the opposite side of your hand. And when we tap these points, we'll generally tap between 5 and 10 times. It'll be longer depending on the phrases we're saying, so just don't worry about that. And then the points we're going to tap are right here at the beginning of your eyebrow, right here at the corner of your eye, the side of your eye,
Mhm.
right under the middle of your eye, just above the cheek, right under your nose, right under your lower lip, and right here where your collarbones just about come together, there's a little bit of a U shape at the base of your throat. So you can tap with all the fingertips or even make a fist and tap there. Next point is about 4 inches below your armpit. It's right about bra strap level, and I'm sure even the guys can figure out where that is. And then finally, the top of your head. So using all of your fingertips and tapping around the crown of your head. So those are the tapping points we'll use. And so generally with EFT, what we'll do is we'll look at what is the issue that's bothering me. Like, I'm really upset about this politician. And we'd ask, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being just out of my mind, how upset am I? And I would say, okay, well, it's at least an 8. And I'd look at how do I know that? How do I feel it in my body? It's like, oh, my shoulders are really tense, or I get this knot in my stomach.
Mm.
So we're aware of the physical sensations. We're aware of the scale of 0 to 10, how strong it is. And then we'd start out saying, even though I'm upset about this politician, I choose to love and accept myself. And then we'd repeat on each of these points, upset about this politician, upset about this politician, upset about this politician. Then at the end, we'd take a deep breath and check again and go, okay, now has that shifted? And hopefully that number's come down.
Mhm.
And it's not that we're then saying, now I love this particular person,
Right.
but it's allowing ourselves to recognize, okay, me being upset about that is not helping anything. I might get greater clarity about what I can do. You know, how can I support another candidate? What are the changes that I can make in my life? And also, as we're tapping through, it's often like peeling layers of the onion. So we might get more clear. So upset about this person. So upset. Oh, you know what really upsets me is that this person reminds me of someone else in my life who's a real jerk.
Mm.
Or maybe this person reminds me of some of my behavior that I'm not too fond of.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's all kinds of things we might get clear about, such that it makes all kinds of positive shifts in our lives. Again, it's not about getting to a place where we like somebody who we obviously find, contemptible,
Right.
but we allow ourselves to feel more peace because we want to feel peace. And I don't want to say, wow, I can't feel peace because this person is out there in the world. you know, we don't
Mhm.
want to be we don't want our peace to be at the mercy of 8 billion other people. So
Right.
it's allowing ourselves to say, even though this person is out there, I choose to feel peace. So
Mhm.
that's the basics of EFT is you become aware of what is upsetting you, rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, and then you tap through saying that whatever the issue is on each point.
Mhm.
Now we're going to have some fun with it.
All right. All right. I'd just like to tell everybody out there too that if you can't remember the points and things, just watch a few of Brad's videos, and you become a pro.
Yeah. 8 points that we're tapping. You'll
Right.
remember them pretty quickly.
Right.
So let's everyone close your eyes for a moment. And just go ahead and rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10 at the moment. And in fact, so just rate your whatever level of stress you might be feeling about anything. And hopefully, just because we've been having this nice chat, hopefully that level is fairly low at the moment, but maybe there's some stuff coming up, and you're aware of some stress in your body. Notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how strong it might be. And notice where in your body you might feel it. What's the physical sensation? Take a deep breath. Open your eyes. And so I've shown you the basic, where we say, even though I have this issue, I choose to love and accept myself. You don't have to wait until something's bothering you to tap. You can tap on positive things. So we're going to be clearing stress, but we're going to start it with a positive phrase, just for the fun of it.
Okay.
I choose to feel better and better. And I choose to love and accept myself. I choose to feel better and better.
I choose to feel better and better.
And I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to feel better and better.
I choose to feel better and better.
So I choose to clear whatever gets in the way.
So I choose to clear whatever gets in the way.
Letting go of stress.
Letting go of stress.
Letting go of any upset I might hold on to.
Letting go of any upset I might hold on to.
So that I can feel better and better.
So that I can feel better and better.
And I choose to deeply and completely.
And I choose to deeply and completely.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
And maybe everyone else.
And maybe everyone else.
Because that would be amazing.
Because that would be amazing.
I choose to feel better and better.
I choose to feel better and better.
I'm allowing myself to feel better and better.
I'm allowing myself to feel better and better.
So I'm releasing what gets in the way of that.
So I'm releasing what gets in the way of that.
Releasing the fears and doubts.
Releasing the fears and doubts.
Releasing the stress.
Releasing the stress.
Whatever doesn't feel like peace.
Whatever doesn't feel like peace.
I'm allowing myself to let that go.
I'm allowing myself to let that go.
I'm processing those feelings.
Processing those feelings.
Allowing myself to get clear.
Allowing myself to get clear.
About why I might be upset.
About why I might be upset.
What might be stressing me?
What might be stressing me?
What am I afraid of?
What am I afraid of?
When I think about anything that bothers me,
When I think about anything that bothers me,
I can ask what I'm afraid of.
I can ask what I'm afraid of.
And I can process that fear.
And I can process that fear.
Because when I'm afraid, I don't think as clearly.
I don't think as clearly.
And I want to think as clearly as possible.
I want to think as clearly as possible.
So that I can find solutions.
So that I can find solutions.
With whatever I might think is wrong.
With whatever I might think is wrong.
I want to find solutions.
I want to find solutions.
Just sitting here being stressed out doesn't help.
Sitting here being stressed out doesn't help.
I cannot feel bad enough to make a positive change.
I cannot feel bad enough to make a positive change.
And I want to make positive changes.
I want to make positive changes.
I'm here to make waves.
I'm here to make waves.
I want those to be positive waves.
I want those to be positive waves.
So I'm clearing what doesn't feel like peace.
So I'm clearing what doesn't feel like peace.
I'm clearing what doesn't feel like love.
I'm clearing what doesn't feel like love.
So I'm sending loving, peaceful waves.
So I'm sending loving, peaceful waves.
And I choose to feel really good about that.
And I choose to feel really good about that.
So me feeling better and better.
So me feeling better and better.
Is a total win-win situation.
It's a total win-win situation.
Feels much better for me.
Feels much better for me.
And creates positive changes in the world.
It creates positive changes in the world.
And for those people that might upset me.
And for those people who might upset me.
They could really use some positive waves.
They could really use some positive waves.
Why else would they behave the way they do?
Why else would they behave the way they do?
Best thing I can do for them.
Best thing I can do for them.
Is send them more positive waves.
Send them more positive waves.
So I'm allowing myself to feel better and better.
So I'm allowing myself to feel better and better.
In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. And just go inside and check in with wherever you had been feeling stress, and whatever that number was, see if that number has gone down. Hopefully it has, and you may also have some more realizations about things that might be bothering you. It could be things way in the past that you hadn't even thought of, and you can then tap more specifically on those and keep allowing yourself to feel better and better.
Brad, thank you so much. I felt a blessing under that tapping. I appreciate the sentiment. Just the last thing I just noticed, actually tapping with my mother a few hours ago, was just that you have a really good way of kind of facilitating the diagnostic. What is bothering me, or why am I blocked, or I really have to commend you for that.
Thank you. That's for me. That's the whole thing, is just trying to look at what goes on. And sometimes I'll tap it with folks, and they'll say, "That's not quite it." I said, "Okay, but I'd rather leave no stone unturned. I'd rather go through and go, could it be this? Because sometimes we say, oh no, it's not that, it's not that, and it is, and we're resistant. It's like, oh no, there's nothing under there. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, or whatever it is. And it's like, I want to cover as many possible bases. There's no harm in tapping on an idea that isn't there, because it's always a cleaning process. It's like if you're wiping the countertop in your kitchen, and it's coffee that's spilled there. If I say orange juice, it's not like, oh, now the coffee isn't cleaned up and now there's orange juice. It's like, no, I'm cleaning. So whatever is there, I'm going to clean it up. But I want to look at all the possible things that might be going on underneath. And Kristen, you can tap both sides. I often tap both sides at the same time. Sometimes I'll switch back and forth. I'm a trained actor, and this is bad camera technique. So that's why I do it on one side.
Excellent. Thank you, Brad. Hey, just I was just wondering, is there anything you'd like to share in terms of what your plans are going forward?
Well, since this is live, I can tell folks that on Saturday I'm doing a live event called Dream Big and Make It Happen. So that'll be a live presentation on Saturday afternoon, and you can find out about that on my website, Tap with Brad. So that I'm excited about that. I always love doing these live events where I get people from all around the world, and I may not be able to see them, but I feel the energy. And so just looking at what are the things that stop us from, looking at the great things we can have in our lives, but also the great things that we can do for the world. What can we make bigger waves?
Right.
And so clearing what stops us from doing so.
Excellent, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Brad Yates, our time on Making Waves has come to an end, and thanks to everyone for tuning in, for the questions, and for participating in the live tapping session. Brad Yates is just one of the spectacular individuals doing amazing things in a difficult world. I'm looking for them, and I'll continue to interview them right here on Making Waves. I'm Drew Lifeit. Thanks again, Brad.
Thank you, Drew. And thank you to everyone who joined us.
Carry on, and hope to be in touch soon. Bye.
Thanks.